In 2020, the global airline industry lost $200 billion. Governments printed emergency money. Fleets were flown to desert storage in the Mojave and the Arizona boneyard. Airlines cut catering budgets by 90%. They removed middle seats and called it a safety feature. They slashed business class, grounded their wide bodies, and waited for someone to tell them when it would end. Every major airline on Earth made the same calculation: survive by shrinking. Cut the routes, cut the staff, cut the product, cut everything that costs money, and wait. Then, one carrier read the crisis completely differently. While its rivals were retreating, this airline ordered new seats. It redesigned its lounges. It hired designers and chefs and artists. It committed $100 billion, more than $12 billion US, to an investment plan that its competitors called reckless. That airline was Cathay Pacific, and what it built during those years is flying right now, while everyone else is still drawing up plans. To understand what Cathay did, you need to understand what the pandemic actually did to aviation. It was not a recession. It was not a demand slump. It was a near total cessation. Borders closed. Passenger traffic fell 90%. Airlines that had been profitable for a decade suddenly needed government intervention to stay alive. Lufthansa took a €9 billion bailout from the German state. Air France-KLM received $10.4 billion in French and Dutch government support. British Airways laid off 12,000 people in 90 days. American Airlines burned through $30 million in cash every single day. The commoditization of flight, already a decade in the making, as airlines removed amenities, shrunk seats, and competed on price alone, accelerated. Business class catering menus were halved, lounge investment was frozen, product development was suspended. The logic was simple: nobody is flying, so nobody can tell the difference. But one airline read the crisis completely differently.
Cathay Pacific has exactly one hub, one city: Hong Kong. There is no domestic network to fall back on, no secondary market to protect revenue when the hub goes dark. When Hong Kong closed, Cathay closed with it. And Hong Kong did not just close, it locked itself in a way that made Cathay's operations almost physically impossible. Hong Kong maintained some of the strictest quarantine rules in the world for longer than almost anywhere else on Earth. At the height of the restrictions, Cathay crews were flying 3-week closed-loop rosters, 3 weeks of continuous flying with hotel isolation on every layover, then 2 weeks of quarantine upon returning to Hong Kong, then 2 weeks of leave. That is a 7-week cycle to complete one working rotation. In 2021 alone, Cathay's crews collectively spent 73,000 nights in quarantine. Pilots resigned the same day colleagues were sent to government quarantine facilities. Morale inside the airline collapsed visibly. Sometime during those years, while crews were counting days in quarantine hotels and competitors were freezing product development, Cathay's leadership made a bet that almost no airline in history has been willing to make in a downturn. The bet was this: the premium travel market will not disappear. It will compress, then roar back. And when it does, the airline that invested during the silence will own the customers that matter most, because its product will be ready and everyone else's will still be on a whiteboard. This is not a novel business theory. It is the oldest logic in competitive strategy: buying market share at a discount when your rivals are too frightened to move. What made it extraordinary in Cathay's case is the scale. The airline was simultaneously repaying a $19.5 billion government preference share investment, burning cash at a rate of hundreds of millions per month, operating at a fraction of its network, and managing a crew crisis that threatened to ground it entirely, and still committing to a $100 billion investment plan. What they built: the Aria Suite. The Aria Suite is not a refresh. It is a product decision that rewrites what business class is supposed to feel like. The seat is a heavily customized version of the Collins Aerospace Elements reverse herringbone design, the same base architecture chosen by Starlux and Etihad, but shaped by JPA Design, the firm that has worked with Cathay for years and knows the airline's design language the way a long-term collaborator knows a client's taste. The result sits in a 1-2-1 configuration with direct aisle access from every seat. It measures 43 inches of pitch, 21 inches wide at the armrest, and reclines to a fully flat 78-inch bed. But the numbers are not the story. The story is the door, a sliding privacy panel that closes the suite from the aisle, the design signal that tells a passenger they have not just boarded a plane, but entered a space. The 24-inch 4K entertainment screen is fixed in position, meaning it does not fold away for takeoff and landing. Gate-to-gate viewing, one fewer mechanical compromise. Bluetooth audio, wireless charging, a secondary control screen integrated into the side console that manages lighting, privacy, and seat position through an interface designed around how a person actually uses a long-haul seat, rather than how engineers traditionally thought they should. The first Aria-fitted 777-300ER began flying between Hong Kong and Beijing in late 2024. London followed in January 2025. Sydney, Vancouver, and San Francisco came next. As of 2026, 14 aircraft have been reconfigured with the full 777-300ER fleet targeted by the end of 2027. But the seats were only one part of the gamble.
The verdict. In 2023, Cathay posted net profit of 9.78 billion HK dollars, its first annual profit in 4 years. In the first half of 2025, it posted $3.7 billion in profit, despite a 27.8% increase in passenger volume, being met with only a 9.5% rise in revenue, meaning it is growing through volume, not premium pricing, and still profitable. It reached 100 destinations in a 2-year rebuilding journey and has been named second in the world's best full-service airlines for 2026. The Aria Suite won world's best business class. The lounges won world's best airline-branded lounges. It fully repaid the $19.5 billion government rescue package. It is paying ordinary dividends. It has 30 new Airbus A330-900s on order, with options for 30 more, on top of 21 Boeing 777-9s waiting for certification. Brand is not what you say. It is what you build when no one is watching. If you love aviation and airplanes, subscribe to Aviate Tales for the latest aviation news, aircraft updates, and airplane stories. Hit the bell so you never miss a video and join our community of aviation enthusiasts. See you in the next one.